Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to a great day to be out shooting. It is so pretty here this afternoon on the farm when we're doing this particular piece. We're so glad to have you, friends, because our job as gun owners, we've got to educate those people out there in this country who don't know much about guns, and we've got to motivate some of our gun owners to go out and vote and campaign for the decent people. Friends, I can't say enough, and of course we'll be talking later on, the judge and I'll be talking later on the show about this today. But we've got to do something in these coming elections. You know, these elections this fall are going to be possibly the single most important election in the history of this country, because right now, these Nazi socialists in Washington and in some other places too, but especially in Washington right now, are running roughshods over your and my rights. And friends, they've got to be stopped. There's only one best way at this time that they can be stopped. We've got to take some of these knuckleheads out of office, send them home, make them go to work. That's what we have to do. We've got to get some decent people, some people who will honestly represent us, the majority of the American population. We've got to put them in place where they can do some good. We've got to reverse some of these ridiculous procedures. All sorts of things are going on around us now, friends. Some very, very dangerous legislation in process. So let's open today's program. We have a great show for you. We have some great features. We have some guests I think you're really going to find interesting. So let's go ahead and open the program. We have some new ammunition from Corbin. And of course, I don't have to say how great Corbin is, because those of you who tried it know it's, as far as we're concerned, the best ammunition money can buy, period. But they have a new load for our Shootin' Show 41 Magnum. Let me remind you, now we've placed a large order for these guns. We're going to have them in stock. We have just a few at the present time, so please, if you've called trying to get one of these guns, well, don't get mad at me just yet. We have a nice order on its way. We're going to have some of these guns in stainless steel. We're going to have some with compensators. Then we're going to have a number of them just like this one, 4-inch barrel in 41 Magnum. So Peter with Corbin sent us some 275 grain 44 equivalent. I say 44 equivalent. It's a 41 Magnum loading that is about as powerful as anything you can buy in 44 Magnum. So this 41 275 grain bullet comes out of this gun I'm holding, old number 3 here, at about 1,250 or so feet per second. With a 6-inch barrel, it's probably going to run about 1,300. And friends, this would be a tremendous load for bear hunting, black bear, for deer, for elk. In fact, it'll take just about most of the stuff you want to take with a revolver anyway. And it's certainly in such a nice package here in our 41 Magnum. So let's run a little experiment here when we start the show. We've got a couple of our heavy steel discs out here. And bear in mind, these things are pretty heavy. They're off a disc plow. That's what they're off of. And they're about 18 to 20 inches in diameter, and they weigh 15, 20 pounds a piece, some of them do. And we have a couple up here. Well, let's take our 45 ACP with hardball ammunition, and let's see what it does to the disc on the left. Now watch this. Okay, good performance. 45 certainly has a good deal of momentum, but let's try one more thing. Let's take our 41 Magnum loaded with the Corbin 275 grain bullet, and let's see if you can tell a difference in the other disc when I shoot it and what happens when I hit it. Wham! Yeah, I think yeah, it hits with a tremendous amount of power. And those steel discs, you'll notice how the 45 just kind of went tink and it fell off, and this 41 Magnum literally took it right off the stand. So anyway, we wanted to open our show today with that new Corbin loading. Well, friends, I tell you what, I wish a lot of you could be here today because it is so pretty. You know, some days just being out here on the range is really, I tell you, it's just downright inspirational. It's so much fun. These fall days like this are so pretty. Now, it's still pretty warm here in Louisiana, but I know a lot of you around the country are already getting some cool nights, and in fact, some pretty cool days. But I tell you, today, a little breezy, and bear with, we may have a little wind noise through our sound system, but what the heck, I tell you, it just doesn't get much better than this. Anyway, the first gun we're going to look at the moment is a little Rossi 38 Special. Now, this is the model. This one is, I think, model who knows what. It's a small Rossi 38 Special. It's a very nice, this is a fairly common little gun as far as there are a lot of them out there in the sporting goods shops. And in fact, I wish I knew what it was. And how about just your basic small 38 special? I don't have the model number with me. But it's a 5-shot gun, and we, of course, get a lot of inquiries from you viewers about, well, what would be a good concealed gun, or what would be a good hideout gun, or some of the ladies are interested in guns to carry in their purses where they can legally do so with a license. So this would be one that I think we'd have to recommend. The Rossies typically are less expensive. Whoop, got a little wind coming up here. Bear with me. Yeah, okay, it's such a pretty day. We can live with a little wind, I guess. Anyway, the Rossies are less expensive, say, than the small Smith & Wessons, which they resemble quite a bit. In fact, the speed loaders for the Chief Special will fit this little Rossi, which makes it a real handy. This particular gun has a real nice set of rubber grips. Now, I don't know, they're similar to what we're used to as far as Packmar grips. This may be made in Brazil along with the gun. I really don't know. But I know this, they're very nice, serviceable, comfortable grips. This is really, for the money, is really a nice little gun. We had tested another brand, shall we say. This was a company a while back that has an inexpensive 5-shot small revolver, and the gun did not function properly. So then we got 2 more of them, and neither one of those would. So I just feel like that the folks down in Brazil, where the Rossi factory is, apparently they work real hard at quality, because of the several guns like this Rossi we've handled, they've all functioned very well. They've all shot good. So, in fact, let's do that right now. Take our speed loader here, designed for a Chief Special, and we'll just go ahead and load it right up. All right, friends, we have our little Rossi loaded here, and watch in my hands here as far as recoil goes. It's really just inconsequential. So pleasant to shoot. And a small gun like this is really, when you get one that is so pleasant, a lot of people complain about the little guns like the Chief Special having too much recoil. But this little gun is so well balanced. It's not that light now. It's all steel, but it really is a pleasure to shoot. It works very much like a Smith & Wesson. In fact, let's take a closer look at it now.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is.
Friends, you can tell this is a very nicely finished little gun. The action is very smooth. You have some real nice, I got a little oil on it there, real nice fixed sights here, easy to see. And it works very similar to what we're used to as far as the Smith & Wesson type arrangement. You have the cylinder latch here. You'll push it forward. Of course, the cylinder will come out. And like I said, I'm impressed with the quality of workmanship on this little gun, and fit and function. It has a very smooth action. Well, let's load it and take a shot with it. All right, friends, we've loaded our little Rossi. Let's take some shots. See how close to the point of aim. Let's shoot that center target there. There's one. Hey, that's not so bad. Let's do it. Okay, looks like we got a pretty good group. And remember, on that sight picture, and we know we're empty now, we got 5 empties. Remember, you want your front sight in the groove here in the back. You want that sight centered so you can see a little light on both sides of that front sight, like so, and then you'll pull the trigger. Of course, our gun's empty now. So, and you darn sure don't want to see this. If you ever pull the trigger on an empty chamber, you don't want to see this. No, here's what you want to see. You want to see that. See, no visible movement. Well, let's take a look at our target. and just see how our group did. Well, see there, that's really a very nice group. Admittedly, our target's not that far away, but it shows a little gun. With a little Kentucky windage, I could adjust my aim to the right just a little bit and center that. So that's really, oh heck, that's only about 1.25 inch group, which is even close like this is pretty darn good. You know, friends, one of the neat things about this particular little gun, it has such good handling qualities. The grip angle is much better than what I'm used to seeing on a lot of these small guns. And the whole point of having a firearm is for, especially a handgun, is for self-protection. It's for personal protection. And people put down a .38 Special. Now, this little gun is not rated for plus P ammunition. Now, there'll be some people out there who would want to carry plus P ammunition in the gun, but when the manufacturer does not recommend something, I'm not someone who will say, well, it'll probably be all right to shoot the high-power stuff. I'm not going to do it. And this little gun, I'm going to stay with what the manufacturer says and use a standard pressure .38 Special ammunition, because I don't want to tear it up. I just don't want to hurt myself from shooting the gun, or hurt the gun either for that matter. But a .38 Special, when you can properly shoot it, and this is one reason we have to go out to the range, we need to go and practice, especially with these handguns, because they do take practice. But when you can shoot this and you can hit a little circle like that at close range in a hurry, see, if you can direct your shots with a .38 Special, believe me, you ladies pay attention now, you're going to make a rapist think about something else entirely. Now, no, your .38 Special standard velocity bullet is not going to have the effect of a high-powered Magnum was shooting some of the great carbine. No, it's not. But it will darn sure give that attacker something else entirely to think about. And if you can, since you don't have a lot of noise, don't have a lot of recoil with the standard .38 Special ammunition, you can get real good with it if you go out and practice using just basic hearing protection and eye protection. So this is a heck of a little gun. I'm most impressed with. In fact, that's one of my better groups of the day, those 3 shots. These are really excellent little guns for the money. Every one of them we've seen has worked real well. Rossi makes some .357 Magnums. They make a real neat little gun in .44 Special that we hope to get our hands on one soon. This is really, it's one of the bargain basement little revolvers, but I tell you what, friends, it doesn't take a back seat to anybody. If this gun is evidence of the character across the Rossi line, it looks just excellent. So this is one we would certainly recommend. And if you're in the market for a small, reasonably priced revolver, well, you darn sure ought to take a look at this one. Hello, friends. I'm out here practicing for one of the most fun hunting sports that you can imagine. You can use a variety of action types. You have access to year-round hunting, some cases no limits, and you get to use a variety of guns. Well, you know what I'm talking about is a sport of varmint hunting. And we need to introduce you folks to varmint hunting. A lot of us have been doing it for years and didn't know what to call it, but we especially need to introduce you to the Varmint Hunter magazine.
You know, friends, varmint hunting is one of the fastest growing shooting sports in the world. In fact, the Varmint Hunters Association, they have members in all 50 states and 19 foreign countries. Now, their magazine focuses on varmint hunting and super accurate reloading and shooting techniques. Plus, there's a lot of humor, a lot of interesting cartoons and humorous articles in the magazine. Incidentally, the magazine is large, it's very high quality, and something I think you're really going to enjoy reading, and it's published quarterly. It's only $24 for an associate membership in the Varmint Hunters Association. And look, for information, now you ought to do this. If you're a dedicated shooter, this is something I think you're really going to enjoy. For information on the Varmint Hunter magazine and the Varmint Hunters Association, call them at 1-800-528-4868. Again, 1-800-528-4868. Be sure and tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Well, friends, it's this time of year, of course, some of the black powder hunting seasons are beginning. Bow season's already in effect on deer here. And those of you who shoot black powder know that a good, powerful black powder caliber and a good quality black powder rifle are really exceptional firearms. A lot of people who don't know much about black powder or don't often shoot black powder tend to sort of look down their nose at black powder rifles and handguns, but those of us who do shoot them know that they have capabilities far beyond what the average person might realize. Well, this is my own Thompson Center 50 caliber. This is a Hawken copy, and I've had this gun for a number of years and have really enjoyed shooting it, but there's something we're doing today that's just a little different. Well, let's take a look here at our water jug. We'll talk about that in just a second. Well, yeah, they're potent. Today we're shooting some Black Canyon powder, and this is a new version of black powder. I'm not going to call it black powder substitute. It's a different sort of black powder. It has no sulfur in it. So let me show you just a little more about Black Canyon powder. Now, friends, needless to say, I am very impressed with this Black Canyon powder. Now, they call it a black powder replacement. Now, here's the thing. Those of you that shoot black powder know that you're going to have a definite smell of sulfur. Well, this stuff doesn't have any sulfur in it. It says no sulfur smell, no sulfur corrosion, no sulfur fouling. Now, that's something that really impressed me. You know, those of us that shoot black powder are used to a lot of fouling, and if you're doing certainly some accuracy shooting, you're going to have to do a lot of barrel cleaning every few shots, certainly. And this stuff just does not foul like regular black powder. I mean, we're really on to something here. We met these nice folks out in Las Vegas, and we were so impressed, one, with them, and it is, the company is by Legend Products Corporation. It's out in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll give you their phone number in just a few minutes. But a lot of us are really going to enjoy shooting this because you just don't have the stink. Of course, you get used to that. I mean, that's just black powder, but still, this is really an innovation. It has or it doesn't have a lot of things that we're used to with black powder. It's also safer to fool with. You know, black powder is a little bit touchy, especially when it's, we found some black powder here on the place, been here since the 1920s. And I tell you what, a good friend of mine who is a demolition expert says, Johnny, be real careful when you take it out of the house. In fact, we shot it on the program. We had a little, we put it in a bottle, and we shot it, and those of you who remember that particular introduction, with that old black powder piece there, it made a large boom. So this stuff is more stable than black powder. Of course, any explosive or any propellant like this must be handled with care, but this is not nearly as, say, impact sensitive as what we're used to with black powder. Now, it says here it works in pan flintlock, so it will work there. They have one granulation, and as you can tell from the picture, on your left is what we're used to, double F black powder, and on your right you'll see the Black Canyon powder, black powder replacement, and it really looks entirely different. So it is bulkier, and here's how to handle it. They give you a chart here. They give you a little loading chart, and the Black Canyon powder is about 25% bulkier. So what you do, you increase your, if you're loading, say, 100 grains of be a heavy hunting load for like a 50 caliber black powder rifle like this. What you do with, in the same measure, you'd go up to like 120, 125 grains in with the Black Canyon powder. So let's, in fact, the wind is blowing stuff all around, which is what else is new, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and load our TC and get something on. Well, just let the papers all blow away. We know what they said anyway. What we're going to do is we've got to take our old percussion cap off here and never put a cap or ignition cap on one of these guns when you're putting the powder in, or be sure and get your powder and bullet in place before you ever even think about capping this thing, because if something happened, if you had a cap in place, you were trying to load it, something happened, it got bumped, something went off, it would ruin your day. Trust me on that one. So you always want to fully load the gun, have the bullet in place before you ever put that cap on the nipple. So let's do that. We've got, I'm going to make about 100 grain load here, so I cranked it up to, on my powder measure, to 120 plus grains. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to pour it down the muzzle. Now, it's a little bit different, of course, in granulation. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to. You may even want to modify your powder measure slightly to let it flow a little bit easier. But I believe that got it. Let's see. Yeah, it's all out. Now then, we're going to be using a maxi ball here, 370 grain maxi ball. Go ahead and put it in place with our ball starter and ram it all the way down on that powder. And the good news is the Black Canyon powder, again, with much less fouling, this will enable you to load your gun easier and quicker, because you just don't have all that strain because of the powder fouling. I tell you what, this is a great idea. I don't know how they came up with this, but it is darn sure a good idea. Well, let's get us a cap and put it on our nipple here. And I don't happen to have a capper handy. We'll just do it with my size large fingers here. And we're going to let the hammer down for a second. So I even noticed it has a more whitish color to the smoke, I think, whereas we used to sort of blue smoke with regular black powder. And friends, like I said, this is really a great innovation, something I think a lot of you are going to be interested in. In some areas, they're opening up black powder seasons, and you know, if you get out and practice with your old charcoal burner here, you'll be amazed at what you can do with open sights, say out to 100 yards. A lot of us out there who are used to shooting with scopes can still work with these guns, and I feel very comfortable. If I can consistently hit a pie plate out at 100 yards, well, I think I'm qualified to hunt deer with a gun like this, because believe me, they have the power out there. These 370, 400 plus grain bullets really do have some thump when they get to the target. Well, let's take a look at it. We'll shoot it over here right quick. Yeah. And recoil's not bad either. So in fact, even hit my target there. So again, Black Canyon powder, it is really some impressive stuff, and we highly recommend, if you like to shoot black powder, well, you need to get hold of some of this stuff, because it works in handguns, rifles, and black powder shotguns, ever what you want to try it, and they have a real nice instruction sheet with it. So this is definitely goes up among the neat stuff we've discovered. Now friends, a little postscript I want to add to our initial piece. We're going to do some more testing with this Black Canyon powder. Cleanup is so much easier on our black powder rifle. It just is not the same thing we're used to. Typically, and you've heard me say on the show before, black powder is normally real messy to fool with, especially once it's fired. You get it all over you and it rusts whatever it touches. And now all I'm going to have to do after shooting this TC 50 caliber Hawken today with this Black Canyon powder, I'm going back to my shop. I'm going to take some RB17. You know, RB17 is great for cleaning up. In fact, it's the best thing I've ever seen for cleaning back black powder residue. I'm going to run some patches with RB17 down the barrel, and I'm going to take some Tetragun or Break Free or one probably Tetragun, and I'm going to oil it real good, and that's all there is to it. Whereas in the past, heck, I used to do it too. You'd get your hot water and you'd get the little attachment that goes on here and get over the bathtub and run the hot water and scrub and scrub. Well, I really don't like to do that. I think that's That's just more trouble than I enjoy doing about shooting a gun. And I don't like putting water on a lot of this stuff. I know it's supposed to be so hot. What if you get hot enough where it dries the water? Well, it's going to burn your hands. So this is really going to, I see, is going to increase your shooting pleasure, because it's just not the problem to clean up that normal black powder is. And especially you take RB17, and if you have trouble finding that at your local store, we can put you in touch with the factory. You can get it from us, whichever. And all you have to do is it cleans it. It's the best black powder cleanup I've ever seen. So you just run it down there a few times, and RB17 will get it. And RB17 also kills the corrosive effect of black powder anyway. So I used to shoot for 30 minutes with one of these guns, and then you go in and clean them for an hour. Well, now you can shoot for 30 minutes, and about 15 minutes have your gun clean and put away. So that's something I wanted to mention that really will be helpful to a lot of us.
Friends, obviously we are extremely impressed with this Black Canyon black powder replacement. And if you enjoy shooting black powder, we'll talk about doubling your pleasure and fun. This will really do it. Now, the good folks that make this are Legend Products Corporation out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Their phone number is area 702-228-1808. Again, that number, area 702-228-1808. Please give them a call. Tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show. And trust me on this one, this is really neat stuff. You don't have the smell, you don't have the mess and cleanup. It's going to be much, much nicer, especially the fouling between shots. This is something that, as black powder shooters, you're really going to enjoy. So, hey, this is one neat thing we have really discovered here. Friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska, the zip code 68902. Their phone number, area 402-463-4589. MasterCard or Visa for subscriptions only. Now call them at 1-800-345-6923. Now, friends, we're looking at 2 of the finest small handguns that I'm aware of. These, of course, are from American Derringer Corporation. On your left, you have the Model 1, which is available in over 50 chamberings. And on the right is their double action Derringer, which is very similar to the old high standard design, except it's been modernized. This particular one is in the 38 special chambering. Now, friends, sometimes it's hard to have a large handgun with you, but you can always have one of these American Derringers. Call them 1-800-642-7817. Now, friends, one of our viewers sent us some home video shot here in the South, and we won't say where it is just yet, but trust me, it's in the South. And I believe their information is correct. And what you're seeing here are some Eastern European and Russian vehicles that are here in the United States. We don't know what they're for, but this is very disturbing to a lot of us, because here you have military equipment, and some of these things have seals, as in nuclear, biological, chemical warfare situations. We don't know why they're here. We're going to be talking about this in just a few seconds, but you can see we have some pictures here that show the obvious United Nations stickers, United Nations markings. We even saw some that are being repainted white. And we're getting reports of these things like this being seen all over different regions of the United States. No one can explain to us why we have all these United Nations vehicles.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, you can communicate with the Shootin' Show on CompuServe now. Our number is 735-42-3024. Again, 735-42-3024. And to join our Shootin' Show Gun Club, Call us at 1-800-895-7916. We take Visa, MasterCard, check, money order, whatever you got. Join today, friends. We need to reach as many people as we can. Well, friends, we hope you're enjoying our program so far. We've got a couple of announcements that we really need to make. Beginning next week, get your pencil and piece of paper, please. This is important. Beginning next week for our Thursday night viewers, this will not affect the Outdoor Channel viewers, just for our Thursday night satellite viewers and you TV stations and cable companies that tape us on our Thursday night show. Please make note, we have another uplink that we'll be starting to use also next week. It's going to be Galaxy 3 Channel 22. Again, Galaxy 3 Channel 22. And they have told us that we're going to be in that spot permanently. And it's going to be on 1 hour later. It's going to be, instead of 9 Eastern, it's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern. And that's the best we could do for a regular spot. And we apologize for our Thursday night crowd. We've really been moved at a ridiculous level here, and the folks at the uplink could not help it. But anyway, starting next week now, please make a note of this, Galaxy 3 Channel 22. And there are a couple of announcements I do want to make. Our Shootin' Show special guns, as we talked about earlier on the program, we're getting a shipment in. We've made a pretty good size order, so if you'd like one of these guns, excuse me, someone had called and asked what they would retail for. Now, this gun was going to retail for about $450 retail. Certainly, our gun club members and those of you with FFLs that have sent in to us are going to get a real good break on that. Friends, a couple of brief things, because the judge has some real important stuff to say here in just a second, but a couple of things. See our Shootin' Show shirt here. It says the Shootin' Show Gun TV. Well, one of our viewers has a junior high school age son, and they had one of our television our program shirts like this, just like the one I'm wearing, and he wore it to school here in the past couple of weeks, and they called us. And would you believe the school principal made him turn his shirt inside out because it had a gun on it? And this young man is in no way, shape, or form involved in any sort of gang activity, nothing. He was just had our Shootin' Show shirt on. I think that's outrageous. Don't you, sir?
Don't start on something like that with me, Johnny, because I've been active in the pro-gun movement now for probably almost 50 years.
Well, we think it's absolutely outrageous, and this is political correctness in school, and this is what's happening. Children are literally being brainwashed, and some teachers too, about the entire firearms issue. And I really don't find this an offensive shirt. We think it's pretty darn neat. I do want to put in a plug for the Sportsman's Adventure Shooting Range and Gun Shop in Forest Park, Georgia. It's just outside Atlanta. They're extremely nice people, and if you're down there and you want a place to shoot your gun, well, you can give them a call. That's Sportsman's Adventure, and they are in Forest Park, just outside Atlanta. They're in the phone book, and tell them that you heard about it on the Shootin' Show, please. They're very fine people. Well, sir, I know you've got some stuff for us here tonight. What did you think about those United Nations vehicles that we showed earlier?
That wouldn't go well on the air, what I think of that. I don't think very well of a lot of things that happen. For example, we have an lobbying disclosure act, Senate Bill number 349, that is now being taken up. This is an effort on the part of those who were kind of pestered, shall we say, on the crime bill matter and on the health bill that's been defeated now, or at least is gone for this year. Mm-hmm. And Gun Owners America is calling it Hillary's Revenge, in an effort to silence the grassroots calls to senators. Very interesting. Definitely, clearly, as far as I'm concerned, a violation of the First Amendment free speech provision. It's got some hideous provisions, absolutely hideous provisions. It even gets down to the point where if you lobby your legislator without registering as a legislator, you might be subject to a fine of as much as $200,000. I think those things are just as unconstitutional as they can be. It's going to take some litigation, perhaps, if the fool bill passes. The Republicans are opposing it, apparently. even though the Republicans were some of the ones that were lobbied heavily on the crime bill.
Well, see, they don't want to hear what we have to say, what we have to think here.
Well, the two Louisiana senators said that they didn't care what their constituents, at least it was reported to me that they said that they didn't care what their constituents thought, that they were voting what they thought. And of course, what they thought is kind of foreign to anything I think, particularly since throughout the years they've given lip service to Second Amendment rights, and then they proceeded to encroach on the Second Amendment. I'm wondering when they're going to, and this thing gives them an opportunity to encroach on the First Amendment. It's time for the American people to take control of their government again. And in that connection, we've got a little good news. First, let me help some of the people that are running. John Kuhn, J-O-N. John Kuhn, who's a Libertarian candidate for the Michigan Senate seat in Washington. The Libertarians are all, in their platform, they're flatly pro-gun. John Kuhn, he's got an 800 number. It's 1-800-JON-COON. 1-800-JOHN-KUHN. He probably needs money. Most of us do. You got in a political campaign, you certainly do. We got good news. A federal judge blocked a Tampa, Florida ordinance prohibiting gun shows. We knocked that one off. We understand Speaker Foley, who was instrumental in getting the crime bill passed, is now running 19 points behind his Republican challenger in his district in the state of Washington. He's also a principal plaintiff in a case to declare the Washington law unconstitutional that puts a term limit on him because he's been there long enough.
They need to go to work, Judge. They need to come home and go to work.
Well, unfortunately, they don't have to go to work. They've been there long enough time where they have retirements that if I had that kind of retirement, I wouldn't have to work. We've got 71-year-old retired school principal in Oklahoma that upset a liberal Democrat representative named Snyder. No, not Snyder. Yeah, Mike Snyder. Upset him in the primary. So he's not even going to be on the ballot now. That's
good for him.
That's another one down. In Louisiana, we didn't have that much luck. Of course, we had our representatives voting 5-2.
In our favor.
In our favor, and they still have a 5-2.
And Jim
margin.
McCrary, he got 77% of the vote on the
He
first
got
ballot.
almost 80% of the vote. He just
And you'll
swept
recall,
him.
well, he was on our show just a very few weeks ago, and he's a good man. Certainly on our
Top-notch
side.
man. Top-notch man. The head of NRA-ILA said that they were instrumental. Their phone banking was instrumental in defeating SNYAR, S-Y-N-A-R, in Oklahoma. They promised that they were going to not rest until SNYAR was defeated, and sure enough, they got what they wanted. We have, remember, Ollie North in District of Columbia, and we had candidates in Ohio. That's what's
Slovenic.
Slovenic, yeah.
Yes, I believe.
Joe Slovenic, I think his name is. He's an independent. The Democrat and the Republican are both horrible. So Joe Slovenic in Ohio. Now we got one in Pennsylvania.
And that escapes me at the moment.
We'll get it in a minute.
We'll get it in a minute.
We got some other things. We've got finally a copy of the questionnaire that are being given to combat personnel. And let me read you a few of the questions that combat troops are now being asked. And fill out and send in a questionnaire.
well, question 46, I think, is a bad one, but they talk about how would the individuals feel about being under United Nations command instead of United States command. How would they feel about that?
Well, a question like this, I feel the President of the United States has the authority to pass his responsibilities as Commander-in-Chief to the UN Secretary General. That is absolutely disgusting.
That's a no.
A question, whether it would make any difference to the trooper to take orders from a UN company commander. And
I believe the worst
question, I feel there's no conflict between my oath of office and serving as a UN soldier.
And they're asked to respond to those things, and whether they disagree or agree strongly or whatever else.
Right.
It's outrageous. Well, go ahead.
And how you like this one? The U.S. government declares a ban on the possession, sale, transportation, and transfer of all non-sporting firearms. Why exempt sporting firearms? That's not what the Second Amendment's are about. The Second Amendment's not intended to protect duck hunters.
Certainly.
Not intended to protect deer hunters. It's intended to protect people, particularly from their government, but protect people. It's not intended for rabbit hunting. A 30-day amnesty period is permitted for these firearms to be turned over to local authorities. At the end of this period, a number of citizens groups refuse to turn over their firearms. Consider the following statement. I would fire upon U.S. citizens who refuse or resist confiscation of firearms banned by the U.S. government. I might add, in violation of Amendment number 2 to the Constitution. And they're asked to say yes they would or no they wouldn't. I cannot conceive of this kind of thing even coming up, of even being discussed. Grassroots lobbying, though, that's really dangerous. It means that if this thing passes, you've got either a legal battle to be able to write to your congressmen, write to your senators, or have the NRA do it, or the Gun Owners of America do it. It's an outrageous power grab to silence the public.
That's right, to silence the people. You know, they're doing some of the same things that the British government was doing to the colonists. Here, of course, they had taxation without representation. Here we have taxation with representation. We have lunacy with so-called representation. And as these things are happening, friends, I remember back in the 50s, I was a little boy, and I remember my father talking to other concerned citizens about what's happening to our government. Well, guess what? They said, well, here's what's coming. It's here. It's not coming. It's here, in fact. And we have got to do something about it. These elections coming up, these fall elections, are probably, we've said this before, probably the most important elections in the history of this country. Because if we don't get some of these yahoos, knuckleheads, Nazi socialists, it's what they are, we've got to get them out. We've got to bring them back to wherever they belong. And we've got to get some decent people in. We've got to do it.
Well, there's a gunnery range in California that happens to sit on top of a very rich vein of gold, estimated to be $100 billion worth. They're more profitable to mine than the 1 mile deep mines in South Africa. And Senator Feinstein, bless her heart, she's running for re-election. I hope she gets defeated. Has introduced a bill to turn those deposits over to some mining company owned by the Santa Fe Railroad, and which incidentally was one of her campaign contributors.
Well, isn't that thoughtful?
Government has just forgotten that they're representing the people. We need a change bad, bad, bad. You know, Clinton was right. We do need change. But we need a change opposite and in a different direction from that in which he went and is going.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
sir, go ahead. I believe you have something else you want to add with that piece.
No, I understand from some of my friends in one of the clubs I belong to, the Arklatex Gun Collectors, that they have nominated me for membership on the NRA Board of Directors. I'm sure that my name will not appear on the ballot. I differ with the NRA in a great many things, particularly if they endorse the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Representative Brooks. They actually endorsed the man that sponsored the crime bill that banned a bunch of our weapons. This is revolting. Now, I can't tell you that if I were elected to the NRA board that I could change that, but I'll bet you this. I bet you the other side would be heard from, for sure. And I might just sponsor another little campaign. If Strom Thurmond can be elected to the United States Senate on a write-in vote, maybe with our viewers, most of you are NRA members, I imagine, maybe with our viewers, if you give me a write-in vote, Leroy H. Scott, Jr., maybe I can get elected to the NRA Board of Directors on a write-in vote. I can guarantee you that there will be open discussion then. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, sir, and friends, and the members should know the procedure for doing that, the write-in, because members, the ones that can vote, will be presented with ballots, or maybe you can tell us how they go about doing it.
Everybody votes now. The 5-year members, the 1-year members. I don't think if you buy the American Rifleman off the newsstand that you can vote, but if you're an NRA member, you can vote on the board of directors, for membership on the board of directors.
So write him in. In fact, sir, why don't you tell us what some of your qualifications? This is important. The judge is slow to talk about some of the things he's done, but there are a lot of our folks, and look, now you're going to have to play politician here, because if you don't tell them, like my father used to say, he was pleased you're a member here, said if you don't tell them, who's going to? So
well, you know, Johnny, I've often said that the very qualities and characteristics that enable a person to get elected to office are the very reasons why they shouldn't be there. The very reasons. What are my qualifications? Well, I've been active in the pro-gun movement for ever since I got out of law school in 1950. I attended the Constitutional Convention in Louisiana and objected to a stupid Declaration of Rights provision about guns, and got a good provision enacted. We got a law passed in Louisiana that legalized the M1 carbine because it had a shorter barrel than the then existing Louisiana law. We got a preemption statute passed that kept local cities, towns, counties, parishes, what have you, from enacting any gun bans. It all had to come out of the state legislature so we could fight one battle a year instead of 64 battles or 128 battles or however many towns there are in Louisiana. There are 64 parishes. That's county to everybody else. I'm a member of the Keithville Rifle and Pistol Club, of the Gun Owners of America, life member of the NRA, have been for many, many years. And I support them, but they do dumb things at times, and that's what somebody needs to say something about.
Well, you're also co-host of the #1 gun television program in the world, so I would think that's a pretty good qualification right there, sir.
It's probably going to end up with me being checked by some federal agency of some kind, but they just come check because I'm strictly okay. No, a write-in vote would be appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to take that because I know they're not going to put me on that ballot.
But we would appreciate that very much, because here's a man who can actually do some things that really need to be done within the NRA, and he is someone who, well, sir, if they got you in that, they would, trust me, they would know he was there, and they would remember he was there.
Oh, I can guarantee you that.
Because he would flatly not let them forget it. So the NRA would be improved dramatically as an organization if we can get him on the board. So,
well, I had a federal judge tell me once, I ran for the state senate, and he told me, the federal judge told me he voted for me And he told me the reason he voted for me because he knew that when some stupid bill got there, that if necessary, I'd stand on top of my desk and raise all manner of cane until something got said about it. And he was right, I would have.
Well, friends, please do that for us if you would, and of course we have some more program coming up. We want to remind you again, starting next week, Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, Galaxy 3, Channel 22. So let's get back to some things that we need to show you on the program. Well, friends, let's go back to the Soldier Fortune Convention, one of our features out there. Here's our good friend J.D. Jones interviewing Paul Reed from Navy Arms. I think you're going to like this.
Johnny, I'd like to introduce my good friend Paul Reed. He's sales manager for Navy Arms. He's got something new here. Navy Arms reproduction Smith & Wesson Schofield revolver and .45 Colt caliber. Now, Paul has been so busy shooting the SOF 3-gun shoot with his team and winning, believe it or not, actually winning. We've got a winner here. Yeah. But now we're going to get him to tell you why they sell so many of these that I can't get one.
Well, we have so many back orders on these revolvers. This is probably the hottest item for the single-action shooters society, the cowboy shooters. We've had such a rush of orders on these. It's just unbelievable. We're just waiting for you, Birdie, to get back into production for this. This is just a prototype. And hopefully sometime in October, we'll be getting our first shipment.
Do I get mine out of it?
Well, you're sort of special, so we'll probably do something favor for you. There is such an overflow of interest for this gun. The demand is just unbelievable. I think probably the greatest capability for this, for the single-action shooters, is the quick reloading capability. Somehow it pops open there, J.D.
That shows how.
It has the extractor. It'll pop the cartridges out. So if there's any kind of stage where they have to make a reload, it's going to obviously save them a lot of time.
Who was the guy that invented that?
Well, this was actually originally a Smith & Wesson design. I think it was the number 3, I believe. And Major Schofield designed this for cavalry use, where he changed this latch, where the revolver could actually be loaded much easier by horseback, where you just actually kick it right open. And you can't see it right now, but the star ejector moved along and ejected all the spent cases. And while you're actually on horseback, you'd be able to reload the thing much easier than in a normal single-action Colt, where you have to go through the side gate and load them in singly one by one. This particular revolver was allegedly carried by George Armstrong Custer at the last stand. It's a favorite of Jesse James, and I believe that Bob Ford actually shot Jesse in the back with one of these things.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Now let me show you the holster we're going to have for this. So I got it right over here. This is a replica of the actual holster that was made by the U.S. Army, and you can see there's two loops here. This could be actually for the single-action 1873 or the Schofield. So it'll work for both revolvers, and this will also be available in our new catalog next year. This particular revolver will be available in 2 calibers, 45 long Colt like this one right here, in the U.S. Cavalry model, and also 4440. And we're going to come out with a Wells Fargo model, which is a 5.5-inch barrel, and marked Wells Fargo Company. This was a very popular revolver with the Wells Fargo special agents, and the company bought quite a few on a contract.
Well, you know, I was just thinking that Major Schofield was a man that invented a gun for true combat. And in holding this, can you imagine, if you're out of ammo, you don't have time to reload. If you're on a horse and a man's on the ground, that's one dandy club.
This revolver was very, very popular in the Old West, much more than people believe. You always think of the old single-action Colt, but
well, you look at the history books and the prints. There's an awful lot of these around.
And all it takes is a movie too. You get the last Clint Eastwood movie, The Unforgiven, came out, and they had a character called the Schofield Kid. And as soon as that movie hit, the phones are off the hook. Well, thanks a lot, JD.
See you later.
Okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you'll recognize this booth right here. Of course, this is Peter High with Corbin. Of course, our good man, serviceman, salesperson, Jeff here, who takes a lot of calls yourself, don't you, Jeff, there at the factory? Well, sir, how's the convention going for you, Peter?
It's been great, Johnny. This is our 5th year here at SOF, and by far our best year. It's the customers have been coming in, and it's just been a really good show for us.
Well, I'm so glad. You know, has it turned up that we talk a little bit about Corbine ammunition on the shooting show?
Yeah, I think it's been mentioned once or twice. That's been good. You can always tell when the shooting show comes on because the next day the phone just rings off the hook. It's been great.
Well, sir, I tell you, we appreciate that so much, and we're all we hear is good reports when people finally get Corbine ammunition. Well, they say, you know, you weren't kidding.
Yep.
So this stuff is really great.
That's right. I think you've done a good job promoting it, Jen.
Well, I tell you, but it's worth it. And friends, let me tell you what, if you've been shooting the other brand X's, whatever, if you want the real ammunition, you need to call these folks right here and get some Corbine ammunition. They have a wide variety selection, even some specialty calibers. I know you're making those.
Right. Yeah, we're making all of our specialty rifle calibers, the Nitro Express stuff that is really hard to find.
Well, certainly, and you know, if they have a new product, you'll certainly see it first on the shooting show. We're very happy to show it to you.
Alrighty.
Peter, thanks so much.
Thank you, Johnny.
Good to see you, fellas.
Good to see you again.
See you. Hey,
All
right. let's shoot some more bullets, huh?
Let's do it.
Tri-tote's real easy to use because all you have is a hook on your waist and you have another hook on a strap. Okay, so all you're doing is you're hanging your gun up like you would on a peg gun rack. There is never anything attached to your equipment when you use the tri-tote. Okay, you just set the gun with one hook behind the trigger guard and the other hook on the barrel. To use it, you just push in towards your chest, pick the gun up to shoot it. Basically, you got 7 different positions anywhere you want to range the barrel of the gun by just taking it off. It's a piece of Velcro strap onto a Velcro shoulder pad. You just put the gun into it, pick it up and shoot it any way you want. I know a lot of people like to walk around with their gun over their wrist. In this position, tucked up under your arm, it's real comfortable, except it breaks your wrist. Set the gun with the hook in front of the trigger guard, and you got the same position, except your hands free always. And what you want to do is you can take your trigger finger right at the trigger.
Now then, friends, for information or to order one of the all-season tri-totes, call them at 1-800-231-1443. MasterCard or Visa, $38.50 plus $6.50 shipping and handling. This is a special price for our shooting show audience, so please identify to them that it is, you did see it on the shooting show. This is an excellent piece of equipment a lot of us would like to have, friends. 1-800-231-1443. Well, friends, it's happened again. We've run out of time for today's program. From Kurt, the judge, myself, we want to thank everyone for being with us for today's program, and we look forward to seeing you on the next shooting show.